This is ACMi News, recognized nationwide as the first place winner of the 2022 Hometown Media Award for News Access.
Arlington's police department publicly responds to a civil rights lawsuit filed early this month alleging a racial profiling incident, which occurred more than a year and a half ago. ACMi News has an update. A severe storm that swept through Arlington this week leaves a path of destruction in its wake. We talked to one resident who lost this massive backyard tree, but not before it caused some damage to his home. And the British invasion is not over yet. The Lobsterbacks caused havoc in Worcester County recently, and some of Arlington's Menotomy Minutemen answered the call for help. ACMi News starts right now.
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered, giving you stories that count from people who care. Reliable, trustworthy, dependable. This is the 2022 nationwide award-winning ACMi News.
Arlington's Police Department responds to a civil rights lawsuit filed late this week alleging a racial profiling incident which occurred February 2021. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Anil Osmani.
And I'm James Milan. The group, Lawyers for Civil Rights, or LCR, filed the lawsuit on behalf of 20-year-old Donovan Johnson of Somerville. The lawsuit says officers stopped Johnson, who's African American, and arrested him even though he had nothing to do with a police call which had authorities looking for a white suspect.
The lawsuit concerns an incident from February 2021, during which LCR alleges that Arlington police officers racially profiled a 20-year-old black man named Donovan Johnson. It all began when police got a call from the Homewood Suites Hotel in Arlington about a white male suspect who was known for an earlier theft. Johnson's attorneys say police apprehended Johnson while chasing the white male they knew was the suspect and would not let him go even after the suspect said he didn't know Johnson. According to the lawsuit, police held Johnson on the ground at gunpoint, and one officer apparently jammed his fingers into Johnson's mouth to silence him, even though Johnson reportedly said he was struggling to breathe. According to the Arlington Police Department's press release, which was made public on Friday, August the 5th, the APD was previously aware of the allegations made by Donovan Johnson and had retained the services of an outside licensed private detective to conduct an investigation to determine if the officers violated any APD policies, procedures, rules, or regulations. Now, according to Chief Flaherty and Town Manager Sandy Puller in that press release, a detailed review was conducted by the outside investigator involving interviews of the police officers involved, Donovan Johnson, witnesses, and others, as well as a review of documents and files in this case, including video clips, incident reports, policies, and even radio transmissions. As a result, according to Chief Flaherty, the investigation found no evidence to support a claim of racial profiling or excessive use of force. The investigator did find, however, that officers violated some departmental policies. As a result of the investigation, 3 officers were disciplined. 1 officer and a sergeant received mandatory retraining, and the sergeant received remedial supervisor training. The 3rd police officer eventually left the force altogether. Lawyers for Civil Rights claim that Mr. Johnson wasn't satisfied with the transparency or outcome of the APD investigation, and that Johnson questions its objectivity and reliability. Meantime, in that joint statement of August the 5th, Chief Julian Flaherty states, "I am very proud of the Arlington Police Department and the work our members have done and continue to do each day. We engage in professional and empathetic policing and have developed many programs to assist people with many different needs in the community. Some of our programs, including the Arlington Outreach Initiative, have been lauded by the White House and modeled nationwide." Town Manager Sandy Puller added, "I believe in the Arlington Police Department. Its track record is one of balanced, honest, and progressive policing. I am confident in the actions Chief Flaherty took to retain an outside investigator to conduct a thorough review of the facts and to act to affirm the training and standards upon which this department operates every day." ACMi News reached out to the LCR. We have yet to hear back from them. Chief Flaherty says pending the investigation, she'll let the joint statement speak for itself. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnd.
David McCullough, a world-renowned author and historian, passed away Sunday, August 7th at his home in Hingham. He was 89 years old. McCullough penned books such as 1776, John Adams, and the Wright Brothers. He also narrated several Ken Burns documentaries, including the award-winning series The Civil War. Despite the world's fascination with laptops, David McCullough always depended on his trusty typewriter. And whenever he needed typewriter maintenance on his antiquated machine, he came here to Arlington, to 102 Mass Ave, the Cambridge Typewriter Company.
He started coming here about 10 years ago. He was working on his Wright Brothers book at the time. He was the best storyteller. And the first time he came in here, he just looked at me, and my brother-in-law was working here at the time. We had these long lab coats on, and then we were filthy, and we looked a mess. He walks in the door and he says, "You guys look like the Wright brothers." I didn't know what he meant by that, but it was because, because of the look we had. And he just launched into a story about the Wright brothers. And he didn't have a regular repairman. Unbelievably, his trusty old Royal that he's used for 40 years, he never had it professionally cleaned or repaired. So he found out about me and he brought it in, and we just hit it off right off the bat. He absolutely loved coming in here, and we took care of his machine, and when he got it back, he couldn't believe it. He was authentic, he was the real deal, and he was absolutely wonderful. Well, all the good things you've heard about him, he's better.
The Pulitzer Prize-winning author could also tell fascinating stories of our past. One can't recall a Ken Burns series without hearing David McCullough's captivating narration. His folksy voice was straight from the heartland.
A stifling hot and humid evening on Sunday, August 7th made for some severe pop-up storms in parts of Massachusetts, including Arlington. You are looking at just one of the many areas hit hard by torrential rains and high winds. An old tree here at 200 Park Ave was uprooted in the backyard of this home and had to be removed. The felled tree reportedly caused extensive damage to the back of the home. Meteorologists are still looking into whether a microburst may have swept through the area. Whatever the storm was, it took several trees and power lines with it.
We got home from an errand. Storm went through the tree behind our garage, came down on the garage and the back of the house, essentially.
And you sustained a lot of damage in the back of the house?
Yeah, lots of damage. Luckily, no one was injured. My wife and my daughter and I were fine, so we're lucky.
I'm hearing it may have been a microburst.
Yeah, I'm guessing too, because it was short and intense, and we luckily the rain stopped in a reasonable amount of time and didn't get a lot of flooding in the house.
More than 15,000 customers in eastern Massachusetts were without power. Cleanup like this operation may take more than a week. When the summer began, Arlington's reservoir was essentially choked with invasive plant life, creating dangerous imbalance in the ecosystem. Last week, we told you that an outside contractor was brought into the res to remove invasive water chestnut plants, blanketing the water surface. And what a difference a week makes. Here's what the reservoir looked like the first week of August, and now take a look. This $150,000 harvester has been working for the past week, uprooting the water chestnut plant life off the water surface. From this drone shot, you can see a significant difference. Contractors will be here for another week or so, cleaning up this waterway and making it much easier for the waterfowl to get around.
Job's coming great. We're about a day ahead material-wise than we expected to be. So we got that whole area out there last week. So far this morning, since about 7, all I've been doing is clean up, touching up some areas, and I'm getting ready to get into this area right over here this afternoon.
All right, are you going to be leaving any behind? I mean, is that good for the environment, just leaving some behind?
So yeah, we're only removing a certain percentage of it because we don't want to mess up the ecosystem in the lake. So if we remove the overgrown portions of it, which is starving the lake of oxygen, we can actually build up that nice ecosystem that'll maintain itself throughout time.
Josh Hall tells us that the goal is to eliminate roughly 40% of the plant, and they are already scheduled to come back in late spring, early summer of 2023 to check on things. The Cyrus Dallin Art Museum had a banner weekend. On Sunday, August 7th, the museum at the Jefferson Cutter House celebrated its renovated gallery with scores of Dallin masterpieces.
The new gallery explores Dallin's representations of Indigenous peoples, focusing on the storied histories, customs, and experiences of these ancient cultures. These meticulously detailed works of art, along with Dallin's other works, represent the museum's commitment to fostering a modern-day dialogue on sensitive issues which are relevant to modern-day America.
And now we have a very fresh look, and our curator-director, Heather Laval, has talked to several people who are a part of Indigenous tribes, and they helped us with language and understand the modern issues with the Native American population.
But I think what really, his art does still speak to us today, but I think what really is important about him is his legacy, that the artwork is here to remind us what he stood for and to carry those values into the present and the future. He stood for listening to Indigenous people, learning from Indigenous people. He was all about empathy, humanity, mutual respect, education, seeking the truth of history. And these are all values that are relevant to us today and that we are hoping to promote in the gallery.
Really, it's a meeting point, right? It invites members of the public to come, to celebrate our past, to learn, to learn something, which is so critically important. And with the new edition, the Indigenous Peoples Gallery, is really going to invite people to come and learn about our past and learn about Indigenous peoples through the perspective of Cyrus Dallin.
And what do you have to tell the people of Arlington? You don't have to go all the way to Boston, the Museum of Fine Arts.
Yes, you can see some beautiful fine art right here in Arlington at the Cyrus Dallin Art Museum. We're open Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 4. Visit us at dallin.org.
To learn about this beautiful renovated display, just go to the museum's webpage, dallin.org.
The COVID crisis has certainly cut short many summer activities around these parts, including Revolutionary War reenactments. But we found the largest colonial battle about an hour's drive from here that has some local folks taking part. And as ACMi News Director Jeff Barn reports, they are eager to bring history like this back to Arlington.
Well, hello there. It is Saturday. It is August the 6th. It's roughly 92 degrees, hardly a breeze in the air. It is hot out here. Now, I came down here to get video of everyday colonial life and also to take in a Revolutionary War battle reenactment between the Loyalists and those dreaded Lobsterback regulars. I am about 60 miles southwest of the Jason Russell House here in the village of Sturbridge, where I'm about to see a battle reenactment between the Loyalists and the regulars. Now behind me, the Loyalists are bivouacked. Very happy people. Everybody's getting along. They have the patriotic spirit. And they're just waiting for the British, or shall I say the regulars, we can't gloss this over, to get obnoxious again. And this is a heck of a battle that's taking place here today. And wouldn't you know it, in the middle of Sturbridge, and also this huge Revolutionary War battle, I run into a young hero from the Menotomy Minutemen in Arlington. And you'll meet him in just a second, but first, let's get to the fighting, shall we? You are looking at the return of the Redcoats and Rebels reenactment at Old Sturbridge Village. It is the largest military reenactment in New England, with hundreds of costume Revolutionary War reenactors, featuring both soldiers and civilians. And when they're not fighting on the honorable field of battle, they're encamped on the village common, which is where we found Corporal Jacob Schiller of Arlington, whose lunch was rudely interrupted by King George's rowdy redcoats.
So this morning, a militia scouting party rolled over the hill up there. It ended poorly for the militia, but despite that, this gave enough warning for the main colonial force to arrive in column. Despite this, we were taken by surprise as we were breaking to eat lunch, and the resulting engagement saw us swept from the field, suffering heavy casualties.
What was hefty as far as a percentage? Do you have a percentage?
My individual company suffered over 50% casualties.
Whoa!
But that was one of the more higher casualties. We were in the front line the entire time, being used to cover the retreat.
All right, well, listen, we're counting on France. Rochambeau, I understand, is on his way from the Caribbean. He's coming up to Yorktown. It's all going to be okay, according to the history book.
Well, we did have a handful of French soldiers. They put up a good fight, but despite the British numbers overwhelmed us.
Corporal Schiller has some great news for Arlington come Patriots Day 2023. Fingers crossed.
We will be back in April, hopefully. We are planning on having that reenactment. It might be a little bit bigger this year. It really is up in the air right now. We hope the Patriots Day Parade will also be returning.
And not to worry, even though the rebels were routed on day one of this glorious campaign, they are slated to take the field of battle on day two. They have not yet begun to fight. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnes.
ACMi News has been in touch with several former news interns who've gone from cutting their teeth in Arlington to working at network TV affiliates nationwide.
Alexandria Kazia is one of those interns who went from reporting along Mass Ave here in Arlington to producing newscasts for WJAR TV in Providence, Rhode Island. I had the chance to see how Alex is doing as she nears her one-year anniversary in the Ocean State.
Now I finally feel like confident as a news producer. When I first started, it was a lot because they throw you into the deep end. They want to see how well you can do. They want to see, they really want to test to see how capable you are. And then they kind of like reflect and kind of go over things that you may have missed or what you need to improve on. And that's how I learned there. But yeah, it definitely took a lot of months and a lot of mistakes to learn not to do them again, especially with news, because, you know, it's broadcasted, but the best thing is that you get to start over the next day. Every show is a different show.
Stuck in a tree, what happened during Rhode Island National Guard's Leap Fest today.
And it's a sad day in Hollywood as the world reflects on the passing of Olivia Newton-John. All this now at 7.
Right, so it's been 9 challenging months, and so far you've been on top of it to the best of your abilities, and that's very admirable. I appreciate it. I like seeing how you've made your way into to where you are now, and we're going to talk about how you got here in reverse chronological order. So what were you doing before you arrived at NBC 10 Providence late last November?
So before that, I was working at Channel 7. I started there around June of 2020. And so I was running prompter, and then I got promoted to be a writer. And there I really got to see the behind the scenes of what was going on. But I still had aspirations to be a reporter and anchor. And I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get that opportunity at this station. So that's when I joined ACMi. And there I was able to really get my hands in on what goes on behind news. I was able to actually, you know, operate cameras, prompt, be a director, be a producer, and, you know, reporter, anchor, like all of those positions. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity at 7. So when I joined there, I definitely got to see whether or not I wanted to be a reporter or if I wanted to hang behind the scenes. And long story short, I realized I did like the behind the scenes work. I like what goes into producing a show. And then the opportunity to work at WJAR came up literally out of nowhere. And I was like, you know what, this must be a sign. So then I took on the position and now I'm here.
What is some advice you would have to anyone who is interested in breaking into the news field or anyone who's currently in school for journalism?
2 things. I think networking and just not being afraid to put yourself out there.
And congrats to Alex. If you're interested in becoming an intern here at ACMi, you're going to want to talk to this guy to my left.
Indeed. Let's talk. Email me at james@acmi.tv or call me and talk at 781-777-1115. Again, that's 781-777-1115. The Regent Theater is closing up its doors for roughly 2 weeks to undergo several exciting renovations. Meantime, the entertainment venue ended its summer with some outstanding shows, one of which was the live Soul Summer Celebration on August 4th. Oh, and adding to the ambiance was a fleet of food trucks outside the theater that lined Medford Street. Here's a small sample of what was a sensational stage show coupled with some soul-filled street cuisine.
reception seems to be really good. I mean, we're always happy to be here. Any opportunity like this is always something that we're really grateful for. So anytime that we can come out on a day like today, you know, it's not a bad day to be out.
And Arlington, I just talked to a lot of people in town. They would like you to come every day. Is that possible?
That's dependent on Arlington.
Go down. You're very welcome. Enjoy. All right, what have you ordered for dessert?
The classic. It's so good. Vanilla and the cookie.
You better get started on that on a day like today.
Yeah.
Thursdays, oh, so I got sunshine on a cloudy day. Come on, y'all, say it. When it's cold outside, I got the company. Yes, I do. Well, I guess come on. You say what can make me feel this way, my girl? Oh, talking about my girl. So much honey, girl. The bees at me. Yes, they do. You might not ever get rich. With the ladies better than you in a ditch. There ain't no telling who it might be. A movie star or maybe even a bitch. On the car wash, let me see you talk. Car wash, yeah. Come on, boy, sing it with me. Car wash. Sing it with some feeling, y'all. Car wash, yeah.
You know, you heard a stirring rendition of My Girl there as part of that little montage, and I got to tell you, for another one, you should check out Jeff Barnes. That's our news director here. Just go to YouTube and say, Jeff Barnes, My Girl, and you'll see our Jeff Barnes singing with The Temptations, believe it or not. Anyway, the Regent already has a fall lineup on its jam-packed schedule. Just go to the Regent's website, regenttheater.com, for details. Again, that's Regent Theater, and theater is with an RE.com. And the sounds of summer were alive and well just around the corner from the Regent on Mass Ave. That's where free outdoor summer concerts in front of the Cyrus Dallin Art Museum at Mass Ave and Mystic concluded on Wednesday, August 3rd.
The concert, sponsored by Arlington's Chamber of Commerce, featured Foxtet, an evening of jazz standards, with town resident and jazz musician Dan Fox leading the way.
Night and day, you are one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are. I think of you night and day and night. Why is it so?
All that in 90-degree heat. And get this, certain Foxtet band members played with the likes of the Buddy Rich Band and crooner Tawny Bennett.
Now that's not chump change. We want to thank ACMi volunteer John Harrison for taking this video of what was a soothing summer concert in Arlington Center. Between the new Dallin Art Gallery and that concert, the Whittemore Park area was hopping.
Indeed, James, it was the epicenter of entertainment.
It was the scene of spectacles, Aneem.
Not only that, it was a fulcrum of fun.
All right. Okay. Somebody else writes all this, by the way. Enough of the alliterations.
The meeting place of mirth.
I said enough, dude. That'll do it for this week's edition of ACMi News. Thanks for joining us. I'm James Milan.
And I'm Aneem Osmani. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy the comfortable weather while we have it.
And we'll see you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMI Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.